What's up, everybody? It is Callus here to guest narrate more round of 16 from ADV Revival. I have taken it upon myself to be the official caster of alargemongoose. I am going to follow this man till the end of the world. He played in one of my tournaments, and therefore, obviously, I deserve full credit for discovering him and promoting him. Duh. But just like with the previous round where he was against Alice, he's got a tough test here as well. It is keeping it Icy, who's also known as just Icy or Abyssal Ruins. I know him mostly because he's one of the better trivia players in my channel. I have a Discord bot, a trivia bot in my server. So if you want to check that out, it's free to everybody. It's ADV focused. Come over to my channel, youtube.com/CallusNarrates, and all my videos have a link to my Discord server. You are more than welcome to come check that out as well. But yeah, hey, round of 16, they're fighting for a spot in the quarterfinals. I liked what I saw for the most part. Wasn't absolutely perfect, but was pretty good for alargemongoose. I watched him, like I said, play OU for the first time when I did the narration last time around. Generally, I know him as a draft player from my league, but here he is in OU, and obviously doing well to be this far. Icy, on the other hand, pretty polarizing player, I think. Really high highs, lower lows than some of the top competitive players, but he's got his moments where it's like, man, this guy looks really good. And then he has other moments where it's like, dude, what are you doing? Just choking it away. And you never know which Icy is going to show up on any given day. But I really like the guy, and like I said, I like watching him play trivia. As an entertaining guy, kooky personality in a good way. Definitely somebody that I have enjoyed interacting with in my time in Pokemans. Alrighty, let's get to it. Like I said, best of 3 and a spot in the round of 8, aka the quarterfinals, on the line. Here is game 1 in the best of 3. alargemongoose is on the bottom, Icy's on the top. Lead Vaporeon, you don't see a ton of that these days, but against the lead Zapdos, that's probably the worst case scenario. Gotta get out of the way. It is just T-Bolt finding Celebi, and now we've got a P2. I'm not clear what this team is for Mongoose. Are we looking at some kind of CM spam? It doesn't normally lead Vaporeon, so I'm a little bit confused. But Porygon 2 is just busy being full parried here. It finally does switch it up to HP Fire or Ice. Based on that damage, I mean, I guess it could be either or, but pretty underwhelming, especially in a sandless game. Well, that did a lot with a critical hit, 89% Ice Beam. He's going to stay in and risk the full para and go for the recover, which he does get. Another Ice Beam comes down, so he is still in danger here, but he does get the recover off. And another Ice Beam. Crucially, though, he's out of danger pending another critical hit. And good thing, because it's a full para. But then again, Regice will full para as well. No harm, no foul. There's recover and a second full para. So after all that, Porygon 2 finally does make it back to full health, but now they're back to going blow for blow. 25 and 43% respectively. One of these things is not like the other. A double full para turn again, and they continue to sit in and stare at each other. And I mean, you got to do what you got to do if neither one has a switch that they're comfortable with, which is kind of surprising that on one of these recover turns, Icy doesn't have something other than Regice that he would rather have in here. But Regice is ultimately winning this 1v1 right now with those much stronger Ice Beams. He could theoretically get PP stalled out of them, but finally he switches on a recover turn, so Metagross is going to be the Mon. Swing and a miss with Mash there, aimed at the incoming Zapdos, who's going to sub up, and it is Mash again. This one, of course, does pop the sub. No attack raise, and we have no clue if he's Choice Band locked or not. Substitute again, broken again, and back to Regice. This time he switches it up to T-Bolt rather than subbing again, which was a good turn for Icy. Substitute fishing for full para. Doesn't find it, but now these Ice Beams are costing 2 PP into the Pressure Mon, so PP was already a consideration given how many it used against the Porygon 2, but now even more so against the Zapdos. BP doesn't show us anything new, it's just the Porygon again. There's another Ice Beam, 37%. We've seen it do as much as 43, I believe. And there is just a recover. Thunderbolt much less exciting at just 27%. And there's Hidden Power for 23, but we are still in a sandless game here. Therefore, this might take a minute. These guys are both gaining proper lefties, and neither one is all that good at knocking out the other. Here comes Meta. Okay, so we now know that is HP fighting rather than fire. Here comes the Mash, the Monster Mash. And T-Wave gets off. And Metagain's lefties, so no CB, no Lumberry. He's going to be stuck with that power, it looks like. Zapdos on Vaporeon, back to where we started. Unclear if Zapdos has Roar or not. Does just opt to T-Bolt away the sub. And that's a pretty big Ice Beam. And a Freeze, 65% and the 10% added effect. Back he goes. And it's usually Vaporeon switching into Suicune, but it's going to be the other way around in this case. Certainly playing like a man who has Roar. He better, or this doesn't make any damn sense. Now Raikou here, he better have Roar. Oh, wow. I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, he clearly would have roared there both of these last two turns if he had it, so that makes me really question why he brought non-roar Suicune into Vaporeon in the first place. That's a bit of a head-scratcher. Dugtrio comes in trying to come in on T-Bolt, but that is not the correct prediction. It was just sub. And now Hidden Power neutral, so presumably Grass there, hitting the Regice. CM comes down, behind a sub as well, and full para at a bad time. This could quickly get out of control. He needs to at least get the sub out of there, even if it's just booming on it, and then follow up with the Dugtrio. Otherwise, Raikou is going to be a real issue here. Paralyzed Meta is the answer. I don't know about all that. Hey, fair enough. There's a boom on the sub. Gotta do what you gotta do. Now Dugtrio follows up, but not only is that gonna leave us in a 5-4, but it's gonna be even worse than... Just kidding. I was gonna say Porygon 2 could follow up, but maybe because he's paralyzed, he wasn't comfortable doing that. Well, fair enough. So it is a 5-4 then, and that's the final previously unrevealed poke for alargemongoose. He seemed very fond of Rachi in the previous round, and here it is again. Psychic there at 42%, and a Specs drop, but he gets Leech Seeded. Celebi and Dugtrio respectively. If he's adamant, he could probably kill him here. Gonna come up just short though. Giga Drain is also short, however, and the recovery is nowhere near enough to survive the follow-up. So we have a, quote, tie game at 4-4, but it sure doesn't feel like it to me. It certainly feels, given how weak and paralyzed so much of the stuff is for Icy. Even before that kill, I really preferred Mongoose's position in this game. Surf there trying to kill the P2. Gonna get a T-Wave off on the way out. Might even get a Recover off, but again, just another paralyzed Pokemon for Icy. Does kill the P2, but the damage is done, and now this Rachi might go wild. Doesn't seem to have its own substitute, so it can and is Leech Seeded. CM and Psychic respectively, 59%. That Surf cannot even close to keep up. Leech Seed helps a little bit, but I don't think it's enough. And the Frozen Zapdos here better thaw real quick. He is going to try that. And Greedy for Mongoose is going to take advantage with a sub rather than just killing it. But it's going to pay off because the Zapdos cannot thaw. And now Rachi behind a sub is staring down a frozen Pokemon. CM and still frozen. Don't know how you do anything from here. One more chance to thaw and then roar, which I don't even think he has. Yeah, the Zapdos had many chances to thaw there and simply never did. And now the Rachi behind the sub with the boost is just going to clean it up. Ludicolo doesn't get to do anything at all with full power, but it really truly did not matter at this point. Down that goes, and now it is just the Suicune, which is also paralyzed from before. This game ended up being sandless the whole way through, but Suicune cannot survive the +1 Psychic, 46%. Down that goes, and game 1 to alargemongoose. Hey, I'll keep the middle stuff brief. I do it every time. Real quick, if you've been enjoying the tournament, hit like, hit subscribe, and consider donating to the tour if you have the means. Now, let's move to game 2. Icy is going to have to rattle off 2 in a row, otherwise he will be eliminated, and my boy, alargemongoose, not that Icy isn't also my boy, but Mongoose will be through to the quarterfinals if Icy cannot rattle off 2 victories in a row. So here is game 2 as he attempts to begin that path. Lead Heracross now, also kind of uncommon. And Jinx is going to stay in on it, not click Psychic, goes for the Lovely Kiss, high risk, high reward, does manage to land it. So Heracross takes a nap, and now the lack should be pretty safe. The fact that Ice Beam did that much is going to tell us that it is an immunity lax rather than thick fat, It returns into Gar and then gets out of the way. Gar is willing to stay in and risk Shadow Ball, clicks Will-O-Wisp, but instead finds an already sleeping Pokemon. Heracross manages to kill a couple sleep turns, but Zapdos has subbed up and is starting to attack, and the Heracross is taking a lengthy nap, just blown away by that kiss. Cannot wake up from that dream. Flygon comes in and blanks T-Bolt, and Zapdos BP's out to Gengar here, which presumably can't hurt Lax in any meaningful way. Just kidding. Focus Punch, it still won't even do that much. Yeah, I mean, 50% is about as good as you're going to get, but Gengar's attack stat is pretty bad. Believe me, I have tried CBGAR. I want it to not blow, but it blows. But yeah, doing what he can. Got a burn off on him, and there is a boom, which is going to make the burn not matter, because it'll kill despite the burn. So Zapdos goes down, leaves us in a 5-on-5 Gar on Gar. There's a burn. And there's a burn. Fair enough. Both Gars are burning in what is also, surprisingly, a sandless game as of now. Nightshade, straight out of the cartridge. 25% to Milo. That is not going to do it in general. Never mind when there's no sand. But it comes in on a Surf without any issue. The Suicune does. And now Jirachi comes in. That is instantly hit with Hypnosis, which is an unwelcome surprise there. Not a lot of people carrying Hypno on Milo these days, but very high upside when you use it and when you get there, as we just saw. Heracross finally wakes up after surviving at 1%, gets a devastating 88% Mega Horn off on the way out, but does get outsped and killed by the Suicune. 5-4 advantage for Icy. Gengar in briefly against Flygon, but he pulls it back. We end up with Gengar now on Jinx. Ice Beam a lot, and Sludge Bomb with a critical hit. Okay. Was not expecting that. We've got some funky sets, but the lead does get a little bit bigger for Icy, who needs to win this game to force a Game 3. Suicune comes in. As long as it doesn't freeze, he should be good to go. He can rest if he's got it, but he looks like a very offensive Suicune based on how fast it is. Ice Beam there is whatever, but we know he's got Hydro Pump, but we do at least finally have some sand. Here comes Milo, and that does, in fact, get Hydro Pumped. Only 17%, however. Gonna calm Mind up. Those Surfs are gonna be pretty underwhelming. Seems that Mongoose has opted for Hypnosis over Toxic, so we can't pressure him in that way. Hidden Power Grass or Electric there, 40%. Surf won't kill, but with the help of the sand, he'll get there, and that leaves us in a 3-4 now, with the last poke still unrevealed for Icy. Rachi comes in still sleeping from before. Here's an opportunity to do some damage with T-Tar. Gonna try to fodder off Jinx, but Substitute or DD are pretty bad scenarios there. Substitute might even be worse because, yeah, this exact scenario, Dugtrio follow-up is what you're going for, but it's obviously not going to survive Focus Punch. And man, that's good enough to prompt a concession, apparently. Let's see, the Gengar was at 38% and burnt. I don't know what that really could have done. And then, I mean, Will-O-Wisp, I guess. I wonder what set the Rachi was. I mean, theoretically, if you go to Gengar there and you click Will-O-Wisp, regardless of what comes in, even if it is just like Refresh Milo or whatever, you can get the Rachi in on that Refresh turn, try to wake it up, and then go from there. And I mean, depending on what the set is, maybe he still had a shot there. He knows his moves, he knows the sets, he knows the EVs. I don't, so kind of armchair quarterbacking here. Hard to say, but it felt like maybe that was a smidge premature from the outside looking in. But regardless, hey, just like before, I tried to tell you guys with this dude, a large mongoose 2, a large mongoose's opponent 0, just like before. This dude is making a run. How far it'll go? No clue. This match just happened today. I'm just doing it in real time, calling it as I see it, but I plan to continue to narrate the sets of Mr. Mongoose unless he makes Grand Finals, which I believe is automatically going to be narrated by Jim, and that's fine, but I'm really intrigued by the story. This, like, really good draft player who no one's heard of, who kind of came out of nowhere, and apparently he can play OU as well. Just how far can he go? I don't know, but I don't think a large mongoose versus ABR, for example, is the final that anybody would have predicted. So I think it's a pretty good story as far as a Pokemon lore talking point kind of thing. But that's it. Those are my 2 sets for this round. Lots of other commentators that you might want to hear them instead. Keep it here on ADV Revival, and I will see you guys in the next round. Thank you for watching.